It's your joystick, so set it up your way. In this episode, I'm going to show you how easy that is with Thrustmaster's T.A.R.G.E.T software. I'll show you how to make any button perform 2 functions and how to set up a macro. So let's get into it. Now you want to download T.A.R.G.E.T from this link here. It'll also be available in the description. You'll want to scroll down until you get to software and scroll down to where it says T.A.R.G.E.T software. This version number may be different as this has changed since this video was done. Go ahead and click download. Once that saves, go ahead and go into the folder. And in downloads, go ahead and click on T.A.R.G.E.T and install it. Once installed, you'll get this icon on your desktop. Go ahead and double click it and open T.A.R.G.E.T. Now that T.A.R.G.E.T is open, go ahead and click New Configuration. You're going to want to give your profile a name. Now, I suggest that you always use the Advanced. The Advanced profile has extra features you may not need, but should you need them in the future, you won't have to reprogram it. You can go ahead and choose the location where you want to store your folder, and then click OK. T.A.R.G.E.T only lets you use peripherals that are designed and made by Thrustmaster. So if it's not a Thrustmaster peripheral, you will not be able to use it. Now for me, we're going to go ahead and grab the F16 stick because I have it. And we're going to go ahead and grab the Warthog throttle. Click Next. In the axes, you can make custom configurations. You could literally make the X axis, the Y axis, the Z axis, or any other axis that's available. Or you can make any other axis this axis. I don't suggest making these changes, but should you have a need to, then go ahead. One of the amazing things about T.A.R.G.E.T is that you get these beautiful 3D views of your peripherals. This is great so that you don't have to memorize any buttons, and you can slide this little slider to see all the peripherals you have assigned to this profile. In this case, let's say we want to program the red button or the China hat. We're going to click CHF or China hat forward, and you'll see over here this turns orange. On this, we have a couple of choices. Number 1, we have layers. We want to be able to make this a primary layer, meaning all you do is push the button and the keyboard command you have assigned happens. Later, we'll show you how to make it a modified state where each button performs 2 functions. So for now, we're just going to do a primary state. We're going to give this a name. And we're going to give it a keyboard command. Simply press the number 1 on your keyboard or whatever you want to assign, and you can go ahead and add the event. Notice that over here, you now have CHF, it's a press, and it's under O for the primary state. Now you have some choices in this option of dropdowns. You can make this a press, hold, or a release, or a pulse by default. I suggest keeping it as a pulse for any action that is initiated by a single button press. A trim hat or a push to talk is a good example of where you might need a hold. Now, a hold function can get you in trouble. If you push a hold function and it's related to any modifier, a shift or alt key, for instance, that can cause you problems because the rest of your profile will not work while that's being held down. Again, you do not want to program a shift state modifier or alt key to anything that's going to be held. If the game you're programming has a shift or alt key as one of the default bindings you need to use, I suggest changing the default binding to a primary state, one of the alphabetic keys or a numeric key, so that it does not cause any problems. I've run into this and it caused me hours of frustration because I had to switch forward. It was in a modified state and it wasn't doing the proper buttons that I wanted. Now we're going to keep it on pulse. We're going to talk about delay for just a moment. If you decide you want to create a sequence of events, you can program a delay. We'll get into that in a moment. But for now, we want to save the event. Now, this is very important. If you do not save the event and you just click save down here, your profile will not save the changes you made within the event. Every time you make a change in your event, you need to hit save event. And let's just say for a second, we wanted to make this some kind of a keyboard mouse press. So we could bind it to a keyboard input. We could bind it to a hat position input, or we're going to go back to binding it as the number 1. Go ahead and say save key command. Again, save the event so any changes is saved, and then save the profile. Now we want to make a modified state. The first thing we want to do is select a modifier key. In this particular case, we're going to select this paddle switch here. go up to Edit Layers, grab that key again, and drag it in there. You're going to notice this says S4 on the joystick for the F16. This is the I/O layer switch button. Again, you're going to press this button and we're going to get a second function out of the same button. Let's show you how now. Now that we're back to the first thing we bound, let's make this perform a second function. So we want to add an event, and you'll see that these two events are identical, but we're going to make changes. So we're going to make this a secondary step for having a modifier and this pressed at the same time. We're going to give this a new name, and we're going to assign it to button number 2. So go ahead and hit save, and then again save down here, and you'll see we now have a primary and secondary state. So again, if you were to press this here and you went back to the China hat and this at the same time, it's now going to give you key command number 2. That's right. Each button now becomes 2 buttons. You can double your joystick. Now let's say you wanted that second function to perform a macro or a sequence. You can add another event. We'll make this test number 3. We're going to keep it on the modified state or the I. We want to keep it in pulse, and we're going to bind this to button number 3. So we'll save the event, save, and now when you press the modifier, you're going to get key number 2 and key number 3 pressed for the China hat forward. So now we have this program so that when you press the primary state, you get button number 1. And when you press the modified state, you're going to get button number 2 and button number 3. That would be occurring at the same time. Or you can sequence this, and we'll save the event, and you'll see that you get the save up here, or the S for sequence. We're going to do the same for the secondary state. And now we can see that these are modified and sequenced. So you get one and then the other, or in this case, button 2 and 3. If you don't want them sequenced, you can go ahead and enter in a delay of milliseconds, and then this will cause a delay and before it goes to this one. So you would get button number 2, and 10 milliseconds later, you would get button number 3. So you can go ahead and program this with another additional button or how many ever you need. You can make sequences or millisecond default delays. Another advantage to using Target is that some games won't recognize all 3 buttons or positions of the switch. On the boat switch, we literally have boat switch forward, boat switch middle, and boat switch back. Most games I've tested this on do not recognize boat switch middle. But let's say we want to take advantage of that. You simply click boat switch forward, and we're going to go ahead and give this a decision on whether we want it to be primary or secondary. We're going to make it a primary function, and we'll make this test number 4, and we'll give this button number 4. We go ahead and add the event, and you'll see that now we have boat switch forward. And if you wanted to know what was bound to China hat, you click here and it'll highlight that section. Now we go to boat switch middle. We enter a name. We'll get test number 5. We'll make it button number 5. We'll keep it the primary state. We'll add the event and we will save. So now we have boat switch forward, boat switch middle, and we'll do boat switch back exactly the same. Make it test number 6, give it button number 6, add the event, which will pop up over here, and save the event. This can be used on any other key that has 3 positions. As an example, we have the flap switch. You have flaps up, middle, and down. Some of the other keys on the base also have a 3-position switch that are not always recognized by games or Windows. Again, this is another benefit to using Target. Now that you've made your beautiful profile, you're going to want to run the configuration. You'll hear that tone to let you know main return 0 that everything is working correctly. Next, you're going to want to go to the event tester. This will save you a lot of frustration when you get in game and the buttons don't do what you want them to do. In here, you can test each button as you programmed it in the Target software. So we can press the China hat forward and get button number 1, and we can press the modified state, we'll get button number 2, and a 10 millisecond delay will get you button number 3. We go ahead and press boat switch forward, middle, and back, and we see that those corresponding buttons show up as well. I would do this for any button that you program in Target to make sure that it works properly and you avoid frustration once you launch the game. Now that you know how easy it is to program this joystick with Target, go ahead and make yourself a profile and share it with your community. Stay tuned to this channel for more Target tips and tricks.